What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Team Fish Knuckles YouTube channel. So we're back again, covering what was the best deck from Evolving Skies. So what we're gonna do is we did this last set as well, but this set's a little bit different because of Evolving Skies was kind of split between the rotation and everything. But we're looking at Chilling Reign first. We've got a quick review. As you see, top 10 decks are right here. You got Shadow Rider, Eternatus, Calyrex, ADP Moltres, Urshifu Teleon, Zacian, Luke Metal, ADP Zacian, and Decidueye, Mewtwo Weavile, and others. So those were the 10 decks, top 10 decks from Chilling Reign. So let's look at Evolving Skies and see how much does this change. So let's click here, and boom, as you see, it changed a lot. Now, there's a lot of things that happened. We had a rotation, so that was a big thing. As you see, the counts did drop down a lot. As you see, 3,000 to 2,000 for most played decks. But once again, there was a rotation, so that did mess the numbers up just a little bit. But as you see, Dragapult Inteleon was the most played deck. Now, this is, I think, because of Henry. Henry did like a fantastic one tournament, and from there, it just skyrocketed, and Dragapult never stopped, right? It just kept on going. And as you see on this list, I don't even see Dragapult. It's right here. Number 20 had 253 tournament plays, while this time around it had 2,000 plays, which is so interesting, right? That's pretty cool to notate. So that's a huge difference. Increased by 1,800. We go to Dragapult Teleon. We go to best finishes. You see, it did get number 1 here. Second, first. Got so many first. Second, first. So, yeah, Dragapult did his thing. Against matchups, let's see, the highest win. Oh, well, that doesn't count when you do it that way. Like, the mirror, that doesn't really matter. So, the win percent against Umbreon Urshifu is really interesting. You only win 29% of times. Whoa. Zacian, you're winning 54% of the time. Leafeon winning 57%. Urshifu, Inteleon, you're winning 71% of times. That's because it is easier to ping Sobbles than it is Houndours, which is pretty interesting to note. This is why I think if you included the 70 HP version, I think it does swing the matchup a little bit. Sylveon, about 50%. Suicune Ludicolo, you're winning most time. Jolteon and Inteleon, you're losing most time. Calyrex are creamy, you're losing most time. Eternatus, of course, you're just gonna get destroyed, right? There's no way you're gonna beat that deck. So pretty interesting that Umbreon Urshifu was the second most played deck and actually had a really, really good win percentage against good old Dragapult. So let's look at Umbreon Urshifu. It had 1,660 plays, won 50% of the times. The Dragapult only won 51% of the times. So let's click Umbreon Urshifu. It definitely seems like this is probably the best deck. So you start looking at matchups. Let's look at lose percentage. Okay, so Leafeon and Inteleon losing most time. Suicune and Ludicolo, you're losing most time. Let's look at some bigger ones. Calyrex, you're losing most time as well, so that's interesting to note. Rapid Strike Urshifu looks like you are about 50%. But outside of what those 3 decks, Suicune, Leafeon, I think those are the 2 big ones, and Calyrex, right? But outside of that, your matchup almost comes 50-50 at that point, right? Sylveon was 44, so you're barely losing that one. But let's go back to most play matchups. So you're beating Dragapult Inteleon 6-7% times. You're beating Zacian 50% times. So you're losing to Leafeon and Inteleon. Okay, so Leafeon and Inteleon is probably looks like your worst matchup. Urshifu, you're only winning 44% of time. So against the two like mirror matches, right? Against the 2 big names of battle styles, it looks like Urshifu is actually beating Umbreon. So that's pretty interesting to note. Calyrex, you're losing 34% time. Not as bad as Leafeon. So yeah, it looks like Leafeon was, if you played Umbreon Urshifu and you played against Leafeon, you were just gonna get destroyed. So that's really interesting. That's a really interesting thing to note. I guess because like Leafeon hits for weakness on Umbreons and stuff like that, and does it have the potential to knock out one shot on Umbreon or an Urshifu? Probably. But yeah, just being able to hit Umbreon for weakness is fantastic and proved, hey, Leafeon's going to do its thing. So that's pretty cool. Next up is Zacian. Now, Zacian was an interesting deck because going into this, it was everybody was really counting on the Zacian, right? They're like, okay, you lose ADP, so what? You just play speed with Zacian. But it looks like Zacian literally had like a 50% win rate. So we go to Zacian. We go to matchups. And as you look, So like 43, so like not too bad. Umbreon, not too bad. Mirror, not too bad. Urshifu, not too bad. Like all of these is between 40 to 50. Now Jolteon's the first one that you hit, and you're like, okay, well that doesn't look good. You're destroying Calyrex Alcremie, I guess because they have no way to get around the Zamazenta. Victini, of course, you're losing that, but even then, you're winning 23% times, so it's not bad. And as you notice, everything's like pretty okay, right? And of course, you get down to Weezing, and you're losing because you can't use abilities. Duraludon, 63, they can just heal themselves. Sableye, it's like 50-50 again. Decidueye, Teleon, yo, you're just like for real losing to Decidueye. I don't see how you even beat that deck. It did beat it 17% of the times, which is very interesting. 15 to 58, so that's pretty cool. But the interesting thing about this deck is like you pretty much had like 50-50 across the board, right? It's not like, you know, you had terrible, you know, win percentage against like the big decks, right? You're not winning like more than losing them, which is probably the only bad thing about this matchup, right? About this deck, right? They're not positive, right? You're 43% winning, 48% winning, 49% winning, 53%, 57%, so that's where you get a little bit, literally, Suicune, Ludicolo, it's like 50-50. Jolteon, it's like the only bad one, and I wonder why that is. Maybe because like does Jolteon have resistant? Does it have resistant? Let's see here real quick. Does it have resistance to steel? I don't think that should even matter. Of course, my computer's not going to load. It does not have any resistance, actually. So that's interesting. I wonder how that matchup actually goes. Why is the Zacian versus Jolteon Teleon so favored for Jolteon? That's a really interesting thing I want to know. So that's pretty cool. So if you want to win more games, it looks like Umbreon Urshifu was the way to go. Zacian was literally like, okay, we'll 50-50 everybody, and like I'm the better player than my opponent, then I could win, which we did see a lot. We saw really good players did take tournaments down with Zacian. So look up at Leafeon and Teleon. It had a really cool story. It was like Celio did good at it at one tournament, and from there it kind of like just like stuck, and like that was the list everybody played. But if you look at the percentages and everything, this is where things get really interesting, right? Because like Dragapult, you're losing. Like you're most time 40% you're losing, right? So you're not hitting that 50-50 anymore. Umbreon, 71% of the time you're winning, so that's a good matchup, right? Once again, you're hitting for weakness against the Urshifu or Umbreons, which is really nice. We saw over the weekend that it still has a win over Umbreon Urshifu because it did beat Grant in top 8. Zacian, you're only winning 39% of the time. Leafeon and Teleon, 50-50 of course. Urshifu Teleon, you're barely losing. So this looks like another. Well, then he has Suicune Lucolo, and it's 63, and then other 75%. So this was not so much 50-50. It looks like if there was a high Umbreon Urshifu meta, then this was a deck, right? This is what you want to play. If there was like an Umbreon Suicune Ludicolo deck, then this is what you want to play. But I suspect that Leafeon will tank going into the next set. Because it's so scary to play against Mew. Leafeon will have to find a way to take down Mew VMAX because it does have free retreat. And so, like, the max you can get on the retreat cost from Mew VMAX is 2. Now, that being said, Umbreon Urshifu has already become like a game player in the new meta to take down the Mew decks. So you could just easily just get paired against Umbreon Urshifu and just destroy them all. But Leafeon's going to be very interesting to see how, like, what it hits and stuff like that. Going forward, I think so. That's the only change thing for sure. Urshifu Teleon was a very interesting deck as well. I think it did like okay, and then it died off, right? But then I think Tord came out with like this Melanie version, and then like it just like changed the deck so much. But if you look at the matchups, it's very weird. And once again, we're at a situation in this format where what is Urshifu Teleon going to do? Because now you got Mew VMAX to worry about, right? So like, can you like play the Melanie version still? I don't think so. I think you have to play the more of the Moltres version of Urshifu that we saw JW kind of played. Maybe you can play like the Urshifu Teleon with Moltres. The Urshifu I'm talking about is like the really fast like Urshifu Moltres. I actually played that for a tournament and won a box with it. So that might be the way to go forward with this deck. But who knows? It was still weak bled. But as you see in this matchup, you're taking a hard loss to Dragapult. Dragapult should maybe like almost die off as well. Just because like the amount of like dark decks is going to be like astronomical because of Mew, I imagine so, but I could be wrong. We'll see. Zacian, you're only winning 44% of the times, which is interesting. I thought that was a pretty good matchup. Leafeon, you're winning 53, so like almost 50-50. Mirror, of course, 50-50. Jolteon, you're just destroying. But once again, I don't think Jolteon is... No, I don't think Jolteon's going to be playing that much anymore. Just because, once again, you're in this like weird meta of like Mew. Mew's like the best deck, right? Mew's 100% the best deck in the new format right now. And so to beat that deck, well, you play Umbreon Urshifu, and so you can't play Jolteon anymore because that just gets destroyed. So that's a very scary deck. Now, Suicune Ludicolo will probably still see play. Sylveon is still going to see play. You only win 30% of the time anyway, which is very... Though they hit for Psychic Weakness, so that's why. Duh, Josh. Calyrex, 60. So, Urshifu Inteleon overall wasn't that good of a play is what it seems like, right? Once again, you're not like drastically winning games. Of course, you play against E-Turn, then that's a different story. But I think Urshifu, I think it has to change its deck, right? I think it has to change what it's doing. Because like even like, oh, this is the Marnie research one, Tower of Water. So that's not the one we want to see. Is this what we want to see? It's hard to find like where does the where does a mailing list begin, right? I'm not 100% sure, but it's somewhere in here. The mailing lists are in here somewhere. All right, so that's Urshifu Inteleon. Once again, Urshifu Inteleon was number 5, and once again, it was at number 5. That's pretty cool, right? I thought we'd point that out. So Urshifu Inteleon, 1786. While over here, Urshifu Inteleon, 1080. Of course, Leafeon was new. Zacian was kind of a new deck. It kind of took these two away from last season. Umbreon Urshifu. I don't think Urshifu Houndoom is what it would have been, right? Maybe I'm crazy. Rapid Strike. Where's Single Strike? Single Strike not even a thing on here? There it is. 170 plays. Single Strike Urshifu. Wow, this time around, boom, 1660. So that's pretty cool how like decks changed. That's pretty cool. Next up, let's look at Suicune Ludicolo, which is probably my favorite deck of last format. Let's look at matchups. This is one of the other, like, okay, it's like not, I don't know, like you're winning 41% of the time against Dragapult Inteleon, which I think this is because you play solo HP Pokemon and then like Dragapult just picks them off. But once again, we're coming to this meta of like Dragapult, will it still stick around or not? I don't know. Umbreon Urshifu, you're winning most of the time, which is good for you. Zacian's like 50-50. Suicune, of course, it's like 50-50. Leafeon Inteleon is a bad matchup for some reason, right? And I guess because they can rely on not putting a bunch of Pokemon down, right? Leafeon Inteleon, you know, they can just need 2 Leafeons and you're good to go. And they can actually one-shot a Suicune, which is pretty interesting. So I'm pretty sure that's why it's a bad matchup. And they can heal plus PCL, so that's a pretty devastating combination. Calyrex, you're winning 50% of the time. Sylveon, you're winning 63% of the time. Urshifu, you're losing. Jolteon, you're losing a lot. Once again, Jolteon is probably not going to be played that much. So it comes down to, like, is Dragapult and Jolteon being played that much, right? If not, then, hey, Suicune, like, it, like, skyrockets, right? So that's pretty cool. Suicune, like I said, just a single, like, not a single prize, but a 2-prize Pokemon that can, like, do, like, has no damage cap, right? So that's a pretty cool thing. It's already done somewhat okay in this new meta. Next up is Sylveon. These are probably my 2 favorites, though. I don't know. I have both these decks built, so I don't know in real life. Matchup-wise, it looks like it's another, like... It's either... Yeah, it looks like it's either barely not in your favor outside of Suicune, or you beat him, right? Because Dragapult, you're barely losing. Umbreon, you're beating. Zacian, you're barely losing. Suicune, you're losing most of the time. And that does make sense. You don't really have like a good like one-hit KO on the Suicunes. Like you have to 2-shot them, which is very annoying. So I imagine if Suicune is still in play, then Sylveon will struggle against that still. Leafeon, you're beating. Sylveon, of course, the mirror. Urshifu, you're beating. Calyrex, you're barely losing. Jolteon, you're really beating it. Calyrex, you're barely losing. So like if you notice, you're doing pretty good. Shadow Rider Calyrex, you haven't lost against. And I imagine Sylveon will change their list. I imagine they will no longer play the Leafeon variant. I imagine they will instead play the Moltres variant. I imagine we'll see a lot more Moltres coming out, and that should like just swing your Mew matchup like night and day, I imagine. So that'd be pretty interesting. You're better losing to Victini, Suicune to Teleon. Well, we talked about Suicune Ludicolo, Suicune Teleon, okay? Weezing, you're just winning most of the time. You have no abilities anyway, which is pretty nice. Sabine Teleon, you're winning most of the time. So as you see, like, you barely have bad matchup with Sylveon. I don't know why it wasn't played as much more. When it definitely seems like, hey, like, your matchup spread is like really, really nice. So I do like Sylveon. I think going into the next format, it's even a better spot, stronger for sure. Next up is Calyrex Inteleon, which I think like Suicune's just a better deck overall, right? Because you're losing to Dragapult. Well, I guess Suicune, you still lose that. So either one you're losing. You're still beating Umbreon. You're like really losing to Zacian because you're like Metal Weak. Leafeon, you're losing. Suicune, you're losing. Calyrex, you're losing. Urshifu, you're losing. Sylveon, you're beating it, but barely. Jolteon, you're really losing. So I don't, like, I think Calyrex was, like, at the start was being played a lot, but, like, drastically dropped off. So I think that's something to notate with the Calyrex. I don't think it should go down even further on the list, right? And I think it's interesting because, where's Calyrex? Right here. Calyrex is number 3, and now it fell by a lot, right? It's still 937. This was played 2,212. All right. But once again, the numbers are slightly skewed because, like, we had to switch formats. Jolteon and Teleon, I don't know how I feel about this deck. It's just, you know, taking multiple price cards. Like, you really lose to Umbreon and Urshifu, which I imagine we'll see more. You beat Zacian, which I don't think we'll really see anymore. You take a hard loss to Urshifu, which I think we'll still continue seeing play. Suicune, you beat by a lot, right? I think you prey on these, like, multi-setup Pokemon. But outside of that, I don't know. The deck doesn't seem that good to me. I could be wrong. It could be really, really good, but it just seems like it has a lot of bad matchups, right? You do beat Sylveon, which is very interesting. I would think Sylveon would... No, you only win 35% of the times. Sorry, I read that wrong. I was like, what? That doesn't make any sense. I read it wrong. So, yeah, so you're beating Zacian most of the time, but you're not beating Umbreon. You're barely beating Dragapult, which I don't think... I mean, Dragapult will probably not see play anymore, right? And I don't think Jolteon can handle Mew either. Like, Jolteon, like, doing 100-100, it's not enough. And you have to, like, go... Like, by the time you have a Teleon set up, like, I don't see you, like, taking them down. They're gonna one-shot your Jolteon, right? Yeah, I don't know. Jolteon doesn't seem like a good spot for me. But prove me wrong, Jolteon players. Prove me wrong. Next up is the last one that will go top 10 is Calyrex Alcremie. One of the most played decks, right? Shadow Rider was most played. I guess Calyrex Alcremie was number 11. But Shadow Rider, you have to play the Calyrex, the Alcremie for the dark matchups, right? But as you see, even with, you know, Alcremie and stuff, you're barely beating Dragapult. Umbreon, you're losing. Zacian, you're losing. You're beating Leafeon, which is very nice. Urshifu, you're beating that one. Okay, so that's nice. You are Psychic. But even then, you're only beating it 59% of the times, which is crazy because you are a Psychic-type deck taking against Urshifu, which is very bad. Like, that's a very bad, like, win percentage, right? And you're actually taking a hard loss to Umbreon and Urshifu. I just noticed that. But I guess it's because, like, they can switch over and start attacking with Umbreon, and then you're supposed to go Alcremie, but then they go Umbreon again, and it just looks really bad. So I guess the price trade is in the Umbreon Urshifu player, because Umbreon knocks out Alcremie, and... No, Umbreon can knock out a Shadow Rider, and then they use the big guy, Mr. Urshifu himself, to one-shot the Alcremie if need be, right? So yeah, I think you have, like, this weird, like, two matchups, but I guess Umbreon Urshifu, I would think it would be opposite. I don't know. It seemed like Calyrex should be able to beat Umbreon. But I guess, like, Calyrex is not one-shotting the Umbreon or Urshifus. I guess you're one-shotting the Urshifu, but not the Umbreons. So that's pretty interesting, right? Sylveon, you're winning 59% times. Suicune, Ludicolo, you're just, like, not winning at all. Calyrex, you're beating, which I've already talked about. I don't think it's going to be played anymore. E-turn, you're losing. So it doesn't look like you have good win percentage, right? It looks pretty bad. This is when, like, 49%. That's the first, like, negative, right? Yeah. Everybody else is positive, right? Jolteon being 53. So the deck I talked about, the most trash about, Jolteon actually had the highest win percentage at 53%. which is very interesting. I guess because it just needs one energy and an elemental badge to like take a knockout, which is pretty interesting. Outside of that, nobody else is like really. I guess Suicune and Inteleon is the next 50% one. Victini and Inteleon is 50%. So as you see, the meta has already changed a lot from Chilling Reign to Evolve Skies. Like E-Turn dropped off a lot. Calyrex Inteleon still, was number 8, so not too bad. ADP Moltres, but ADP rotated. Urshifu Inteleon, which was number 5. So they both stayed at number 5. That's pretty interesting. Zashi and Luke Metal and ADP basically made Zashi number 3. Took the 2 decks, and the Zashi's players. Decidueye was right there. Where's Decidueye now? 18, and I guess they're all playing that. I guess they're all playing the Inteleon version. But it dropped out 10 spaces. Interesting. Mewtwo rotated, and other we don't care about. So there we go. As we look into the future of Fusion Strike, you see right now, Mew Genesect already destroying the field. You can see Dragapult Inteleon already with the negative room percent. Urshifu with the win percentage, high win percentage as well. Looks like it'd be interesting to see what these numbers come out, because I do agree that these are probably the best 10 decks. It will change 100%. Zashi is not doing so hot as well. Jolteon is not seeing much play, even then only winning 51% of the times. E-Turn is like dropping off. I do expect Mew Genesect, Umbreon, and probably Urshifu to be the top 3. Weirdly enough, maybe Sylveon. Sylveon looks like a really good deck too. Like it's 56 win percentage, right? That's pretty good already. I mean, looking win percent wise, you got Umbreon, straight Umbreon. It's only got one showing, right? But Mew Genesect 59%, Sylveon 56%. These are the big 2 ones, right? And then Umbreon Urshifu with 52. So it's interesting. Like these are the top 3 decks, and I imagine that's where it'll sit, right? Umbreon, Sylveon, and Mew. I think those are going to be the 3 best decks going into this format. But we shall see. Guys, there we go. I'm excited for Fusion Strike. I'm seeing the meta will not change like that. Like the decks played are not going to change that much outside of Mew. But they will evolve. And that's going to be the interesting thing to see is how these decks evolve over these next couple weeks when we have Fusion Strike tournaments. But guys, there we go. Those are the best decks from Evolving Skies. Let me know what you think. Let me see if I can pull it back up. Genesect was not played in what is happening. There we go. So there we go. There's the best decks. Also, if you want to do this, you can buy like multiple decks where you just like Dragapult or whatever. Where you just see like single archetypes. That is something interesting to note. But there we go, guys. There is the best decks from Evolving Skies. Best win percentage right there. So yeah. There we go. Guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Hope you learned something new. Going forward, my prediction is like Mew will be the best deck with Sylveon and Umbreon Urshifu taking 2nd and 3rd. I don't know which way yet, but those are my top 3 decks going into Chilling Reign or into Fusion Strike. But guys, hope you enjoyed the video. Thanks for watching. What decks do you think will be the best in Fusion Strike? It'll be interesting to see what happens with these archetypes. Alrighty, guys, hit the subscribe button. See you tomorrow for Expanded Thursday. Alrighty, bye.